My channel recently hit 2,000 subscribers. For that, I thank you all for continuously supporting my growth on this website. I promised I would make a video on Tokyo Ghoul, my favorite manga of all time, when we reach this milestone. However, the reason the video took so long is because I struggled to decide on a good premise on how I would approach talking about Tokyo Ghoul. That led me to pivot to what you're watching now. In 2021, Sui Ishida returned to the manga scene with a brand new series, Choujin X. I remember reading the first few arcs as they were coming out, and then reread them a year later. Yet both times I dropped off for reasons I can't remember. I doubt it had anything to do with the story's quality, as I remember what I did read being quite good. I wanted to give Choujin X the full read-through it always deserved from me, and I figured making a video on it would be a good excuse to do so. Yes, we've gotten to the point of my YouTube career where I need to use a video premise to convince myself to check out something I want to read or watch. I'm a little surprised how little people know about or have read this series given the infamy of Ishida's previous work. Maybe it's because I'm a Tokyo Ghoul fan, so I was in those fan circles, but it seemed like a big deal when Chapter 1 dropped. But I guess due to this series having the irregular schedule of the chapter comes out when Ishida feels like it, the hype around it fizzled out. Which is a shame. I thoroughly enjoyed my read-through of it. Hell, I'd say it does a handful of things better than Tokyo Ghoul. That's why I've made this video as an introduction to Choujin X, to hopefully get more people to check it out. The first chapter opens with a country girl on an airplane, talking to a sweet old lady. The girl talks about where she's from, her plans to enter a crop competition, and the dreams she'd want to achieve with the prize money. This sweet conversation is interrupted by this suspicious man who gets hostile very quickly, and when the girl stops him from hitting the old lady, he responds with this. Now, there's something I want to admit. The first chapter doesn't immediately open with this airplane scene. There's one page before it. This. Certainly a Sui Ishida illustration, if I've ever seen one. This airplane scene does an excellent job at establishing the general tone for Choujin X. This moment with the girl doesn't start off as wholesome and humorous solely to catch us off guard with the brutality of the fiery superhuman. Again, you saw that first page, you already knew some weird stuff was gonna happen. Not to say Tokyo Ghoul was totally devoid of comedy or lighthearted moments, but they were sprinkled pretty rarely throughout the otherwise melodramatic story of Ken Kaneki. On the other hand, Choujin X strikes a more equal balance. And I like this. It never gets to a point where the comedy is detracting serious moments. Honestly, quite the opposite. During big fights, comedic banter can elevate character moments and tension. The storytelling and dialogue presented here are some of Ishida's best work yet, in my opinion. With TG, I liked the early arcs on my initial readings, but it wasn't until the fight with Jason that the series truly clicked with me. With Choujin X, it took almost no time at all. By the end of the second volume, I was totally hooked and in love with this insane world. Ishida had gotten a much better grasp of how to tell a story, and that improvement is clear to see. I have greater praise for his art. I made the joke earlier, the chapters come out when Ishida feels they're ready, but that's the biggest boon to Choujin X's publication. Ishida earned his merit as a creator with Tokyo Ghoul, and thus was given the grace to work on his own terms. He didn't have to get chapters out on a regular basis like mangaka in weekly or monthly magazines. While mangaka who release chapters weekly have proven they can produce stellar artwork in a short time frame, Ishida's penmanship in Choujin X heavily benefits from all the extra time he's allotted. Sui Ishida already had one of my favorite art styles in anything ever. I especially love how he draws facial expressions. He does a great job of visualizing every kind of possible emotion with his characters. Looking back at the end of Tokyo Ghoul's run, you can tell his art was a bit hampered as a result of exhaustion, but with no fatigue weighing him down, every chapter of Choujin X is him at pretty much full capacity, and Jesus Christ, this shit is immaculate! No wonder we still haven't gotten this series animated yet. I feel bad for the poor animators who have to work with shit like this. Also, I gotta give kudos to Ishida's monstrous designs. The designs of Kakuja and TG don't get enough credit in my opinion for transformations. Some of these super forms for ghouls can look awesome, they can look uncanny, they can sometimes be downright terrifying. And Ishida continues to bring his A game with unique creature designs with the Beast Choujin, like our main character, Tokyo. The power system system overall is neat and deceptively simple. We learn early on that a person's Choujin ability can manifest through various means, but typically it takes the form of what you desire or fixate on. Our main character Tokyo has had a childhood fondness for vultures, so when he becomes a Choujin, he specifically becomes a vulture Choujin. Some of the powers Ishida comes up with for Choujin are really strange, but also really cool to see them utilized in creative ways. Abilities are tied to the user's emotional state too, so as the characters improve themselves as people, their powers enhance in tandem. Although I have one issue with Choujins, and it's an issue that was present with ghouls too. It can be really hard to gauge what a superhuman can't and can't recover from. When a Choujin died, it kind of took me by surprise, only because I'd be like, so wait, they can't regenerate from this one? I mean, okay. It doesn't rob the fights of their emotional impact, thankfully, but old habits die hard, I suppose. I did notice some similarities with Tokyo Ghoul as I read through this series. I guess it was bound to happen when they have the same creative mind behind them. On the surface, Tokyo and Azuma have a similar friendship to Kaneki and Hide, the reserved and soft-spoken main character, and their energetic, popular best friend. But not long into the series' run, the bond between these two gets deconstructed as we learn more about them on an individual level, deviating heavily from their predecessors. I love Tokyo Ghoul for many reasons, but the biggest one is Ken Kaneki. He is a lightning in a bottle type of character, a total cluster of mental illnesses and instability whose journey leads him to learn what it means to be human and make the most out of life. That's why I'm glad Ishida didn't try to capture that lightning twice with Choujin X's protagonist. Tokyo Kurohara may seem like Diet Kaneki at the start. A regular, unassuming guy is turned into a monster after barely surviving a deadly encounter, who seeks to use his power to protect the people he cares about. But Tokyo doesn't come close to reaching the level of tragedy as Kaneki. Instead, his development centers around his lack of initiative, never putting in the effort to apply himself to anything or find something he's truly passionate about. I obviously don't want to spoil anything, but as the series goes on, Tokyo develops tremendously and becomes a really admirable character, flaws and all. It's a real shame Choujin X isn't talked about more. It reminded me why I admire Sui Ishida as a creative talent. Do yourself a favor and read it when you get the chance. And if an anime ever does happen, hi, I would love to be the double voice actor for Tokyo Kurohara. It would be an absolute honor. That's all I wanted to say on that. Be sure to like this video and subscribe to this channel. As a smaller creator on the platform, it'd mean a lot to have you all support my content. Thank you once again to all the 2,000 plus subscribers who have been supporting me up to this video's release. Like I said, I got stumped trying to make a video on Tokyo Ghoul, so I hope this was a good enough compromise. Thank you for coming by the Matsunoki Cafe today. Until we meet again, take care.